My name is Hunter Way at the Athletes Lounge podcast. I'm here with my guest.
Gretchen Miles.
So Gretchen, you coach over there, girls basketball over there at Washington, and you're 2-3 to start the season. What do you think's been maybe gone wrong in the three losses, but also gone right in the two wins?
Well, I tell you what, we started off with just very good teams, which is what we want. North Knox and South Knox are phenomenal ball clubs that are going to win a lot of basketball games this season, and both teams are in their same sectional and probably have a good chance that whoever comes out of that sectional make a deep, deep run in the tournament. I think for us, as probably a lot of coaches would say, is just taking care of the basketball. Got to take care of the basketball because that obviously gives us a chance to score and limits extra possessions for the other team. Um, I think also just being able just to make shots. I mean, it's hard to win if you don't make shots. So I think for us too is just constantly just taking care of the basketball and just taking more high percentage uh, shots and just be better with our shot selection. And I think this weekend too, where we played at the Corden tournament, our kids like really turned the corner, played really good teams. We started off with Evansville or Vincent's Reveille, and then played a really good Evansville Central team, and then a very good, obviously, Borden team. So just playing really good competition where all three teams brought something different to the table, which is what we want to see. And this is why we're there too, is just to play very good competition. And really thought that the kids responded very well. But again, it just goes back to just taking care of the basketball. We've got to be able to, limit our turnovers and better shot selection.
North Knox you mentioned is a good team, and they've already had one or two pretty crazy score differentials. This year, and they've had some big wins. You know, uh, is North Knox a team you kind of maybe had penciled as what would be a tougher matchup?
Oh, definitely. I think last year we were the first when they started the running clock. That was our first game of the season to be running clocked. I think as a coach or player, I've never been on the end of something like that, so that was definitely eye opening. But yes, because that's a good measuring stick right off the bat for us. They returned about like 95% of their team from last season, and they just have guards that can just shoot it. They pressure you from inline to inline, and just a lot of things that we couldn't really simulate in practice is definitely what we needed. So it was very good to see our kids come out and just compete. I mean,
And
our kids, if we can just get our kids to compete just every day, whether in practice and games, we feel like the basketball skill part will continue to get better.
what do you think went right for your teams? And you beat Central and Reveille so far. What do you think went good in those matchups?
I think just felt like just making plays. I think the energy was good with the kids. And for us too, the defensive pressure. For us to score offensively, it starts on the defensive end for us. Defensively, we felt like we were very good. Obviously, there's always work to be done on that side of it, but really improved defensively on that and just being more patient offensively and just taking better shots. And we just had kids step up and hit the shots very well for us. Kenna Garland shot the ball very well for us this weekend. We had also, just everybody did between Liv Gilly and Katie Reed, our inside kids, playing inside and out, shot the ball well. Aubrey Frank's our point guard. And again, if she doesn't handle the ball very, very well and facilitate, we get beat 25 every game this season so far. So I think for the weekend, she had 4 turnovers in 3 games. So that was like a tremendous stat for us that we have to have out of our point guard. Haley Cummins does a great job of facilitating and getting the ball where it needs to go for us. And Shay Hawk is an energy kid for us that brings a lot of defensive pressure and hits the boards very hard. I think everyone just really bought into their role and did it just very well all weekend. And we're also kind of hitting the injury bug right now. So for us to play 6 kids, in 3 games this weekend, it's kind of a big gut check for our kids. So just being able to play hard and kind of empty that tank, so to speak. They just did a good job with that.
You've been there 16 years. How would you, what's been the evolution of your coaching style been like? Uh, yeah, I guess that's my question. Yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like, for us over those years, it's been the people that like you surround yourself with. So from our second grade feeder program all the way up, we very fortunate not to have much turnover. So just the people in those places have been just phenomenal for us. So just the people that, put kids first and want to do best by kids first. and coaches that don't have an ego about them to win at all costs. It's just to do a best by kids first. So I think just the people that we have in the places that I've been very fortunate to have the assistant coaches at the high school level, all the way down to our second grade that just want to work hard for kids and just be put in a spot to just do whatever it takes for the program first. So I think just been very fortunate for that kind of aspect of it.
Right now, in this point in the season, couple few games in, is is there anything offensively and defensively you want to change, or do you think it's everything's working to plan so far?
Yeah, definitely not this early in the season. Is nothing, nothing's perfect yet because I feel like you're always kind of striving that you want to be clicking come tournament time. I think offensively, we're always just trying to get better. And I think just always getting better to get like high percentage shots every single time. Like not so much contested shots or just forced shots that we want our kids to take high percentage shots where they've got the room, the rhythm, and the range to be able to pull it, and always constantly working on our spacing and just being hard to guard, I guess. Defensively, of course, you just want to keep making that on the opposite end. The things that defense does to us, we want to do on the opposite end too. And I think just being able to, and that always goes back to rebound. Like we always want to win that rebound stat. Um, but defensively too, just keep working on to, applying that pressure and not giving up just easy buckets. I think a lot of times it's not so much mismatches that get you beat as open shots. So when we go back and look at film, it's just point blank open shots that get you beat. And so just constantly working on being able to defend people one on one, and not being able to have to rely on so much help to put us in disadvantaged situations.
As a coach, what's your bread and butter offensively and defensively?
I feel like defensively, like we just try to get after a man to man. I feel like we just have to, just kind of do those kind of things and just bring that pressure because I feel like that's what gets our kids going. Just being able to kind of get the blood flowing and just get after people and hit the boards. I think offensively for us is get off the backboard and just run. I feel like our kids just do a better job of getting out in transition, sprint the floor, run their lanes, and just get a high percentage shot from that. Our kids prefer to kind of get up and down the court a little bit quicker. It's also less thinking. So the most that we can get the ball off the backboard and just get out in transition. I feel like it's kind of an every year thing. So it's not so much, I think, defensively, of course, we always want to pressure the ball. But I think offensively, it always kind of depends on what kind of team you have. So based on what group we have, it's kind of based off of what the coaches feel like is best for the kids. But the last few years, we feel like offensively, it's just transition. Just get out and just kind of play quick.
Yeah, we talked about for a second that you're there 16 years. What's been the evolution been like from the coach's standpoint on how you can coach kids in the last 16 years? Has there been any big change in the kids that's kind of been noticeable like year to year, or has there had to be an adjustment?
Yeah, and I would say, of course, I have the pleasure to coach with Coach Gene Miller, Hall of Fame coach on the boys' side, which is phenomenal. And listening to his stories, and I'm sure he could really answer that because he's been coaching for 40 some years. I don't know. I guess I feel like still, even though 16 years sounds like a lot, maybe I haven't still coached enough to know that. But I just feel like they're still kids, and I think that when you hold the expectation level bar high, the kids step up to that. The kids that want to be there, and the kids that want to compete, and the kids that want to get better. There's no change, and I think those kind of kids that want to get better and compete, there's no difference at home either. The parents expect the same thing out of their kids too. So I think it's not so much, with the kids part of it that I see. But again, it's a short stint of coaching. I haven't seen, back from 40 years ago to today. But I think it's just like anything else, like kids for the most part that want to win, but also wanted to do what it takes to win. I think like everyone would say they want to win, but who's willing to do what it takes to win? Um, but I do believe that like the kids that want to win and put in the work is also a reflection of the parents at home that expects high expectations for their kids to work hard, do what it takes, not expect to get bailed out or the complaining or anything like that, but just being able to hold the expectation bar high for them to be pushed. And we feel like, a lot of times our kids, they respond to that.
What have been as a coach, what have your numbers been like this year?
Well, I feel like the last few years we're still like at the, 16, 17, 18 range. But for us this season, like I said, it's been the injuries. Like we've just had the craziest things happen. Um, we've had like 2 kids in a boot with stress fractures. We've had 1 kid with a stress fractured hand that happened in practice. Um, we've had a stress fractured with a broken finger. I mean, like we're down to like, I think we have our own team of injuries. We were kind of nicknaming them the deductibles for their parents because I think they felt like they've all met those as far as insurance goes for their families. Um, but when that happens, like we're kind of down right now to just playing 2 quarters of JV because of that. And it's not just like quick injury turnovers. It's kind of we're waiting, 6, 8 weeks to kind of see what happens. So it's kind of been something that we haven't ever really experienced before as far as injuries go. Not so much less numbers. It's just that the injury part, it's just been kind of crazy for us. It's just getting kids healthy, and the kids that are healthy stay healthy. But we probably have, and then we had a knee injury go down. That's supposed to get an MRI this week, so we probably have 6 or 8 kids out just based on long-term injuries. It's been kind of wild.
Yeah, how do you kind of I mean there's no prep, but how do you kind of like, like when your kids see this many going down around them, and
Mm-hmm.
knowing you're going to be undermanned, what's kind of like the message from you to the team when you
Yeah.
know you're going to be undermanned?
Right, you're exactly right. I think for us too, like our theme this year is like being able to handle hard better. And I think just the adversity of things happening, that it's not only just supporting the kids that are still playing, but it's really important to support the ones that are not. Because the ones who are not, that are injured right now, they're so used to being in the routine of practicing and playing and all that, that you want to make sure that they mentally don't check out, that they mentally don't feel like, man, I just don't feel part of this. I just don't feel like I'm in my role right now. So it's really important for us, for each other, to be checking on each other all the time. So like currently with the lack of numbers in practice, like we always bring in kind of a boys squad to practice against our varsity anyway, um, just to hype up the aggressiveness and the quickness and physicality and things like that. But you're exactly right. Being able to just kind of keep everybody on board, keeping the energy up, the hopes up, and just constantly checking in on each other, always, and just having those honest talks in practice, like how people are doing, what's it feel like to be on play, when people are out, still keeping them involved in the games too. So like when the games are going, those kids who are injured still play a vital role for us, on the bench or even in practice. So like in practice, if they're injured, they may be calling out the next practice drill, or they may be in charge of a certain team. So trying to keep them involved in practice to give them a certain role, so they're just not, sitting there just doing their exercises on the side, but still keeping them part of it and keep them involved.
Has there been any struggle as a coach to make sure your girls watch basketball or, kind of learn the game naturally?
Yes, I think like being a student of the game has really gone away from the wayside. Um, yes, I really feel like this group this year, for some reason, has also kind of bought into like wanting to go scout with us, which is kind of cool. Like wanting to learn that way, or watching more film, like on their own, also with us too. So it's kind of a change of that. But like, because I feel like you really have to want to do that yourself. It's kind of, just like anything else, being forced to do it, you don't feel um, the value of that, but being able to learn the game and watch it. But I think a lot of it too is just being able to watch it purposefully or just watch it. There's a lot of so many good college um, women basketball players and just basketball teams, and just I mean, my gosh, like just basketball teams in a close driving distance to where we all live, just being able to go catch a game. So for us too, as coaches, being able to have those talks with kids, like did you see such and such on ESPN or watching this, or hey, this game's on tonight, or like right when the season started, we were able to take the kids to Bloomington to watch the IU women practice. Just being able to watch those kind of things. So we have to be able as coaches to expose them, to kind of give them a taste of it so that they can obviously enjoy, to be able to want to watch those kind of things and learn from it. But you're exactly right. Just being a student of the game um, is something that has to constantly improve, because that's so important. So important to be able to watch the game, to learn the game.
You kind of partially addressed this earlier. Do you use the regular season as kind of a prep up for sectionals, or do you treat each regular season game as the utmost importance?
Yeah, you're right. I feel like when I first started coaching, like every game was like so important, and then when sectional rolled around, it just rolled around. Our varsity assistant, Dave Harmon, when he came on board, he was really, pounding us as coaches to really think of course, you want to win all the time, right? But like these games are like preseason games, and the big time is sectional time. So when you get to sectional, it's like, not so much. Of course, you want to win, and we're not saying that. We all want to win, but like it's not so much your record as we want to make the run. So we want to be able to make the run come tournament time. Like we want our kids to be healthy and playing their best basketball come tournament time. So being able to use these games as games to get better, but each game getting better and competing and fine tuning things. So when it comes tournament time, like we're ready to roll. But obviously, like every game, you want to be playing your best at that time in the season. But obviously, knowing that like if we're playing the best we're going to be right now, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
Come tournament time, that we want to constantly just keep getting better.
So, right now in this point of the season, is there anything you're looking to try to implement into your offense that you just didn't have the time to before the season?
I think just as we go along, just being able to constantly keep looking at it. I think there's always fine tuning of things because as coaches, like I feel like we're always watching the offensive piece, especially this season, of what can we keep working on and kind of tweaking just to keep getting better. So I think that's always like a work in progress because I feel like as coaches, like we're never satisfied with it. But I think definitely the film watching of our coaching staff and our kids, just being able to see what we're seeing and not seeing is definitely just a work in progress.
How'd you get into coaching? What's your background in coaching, and how'd you decide you wanted to do it?
Right. So let's see. I even as a young age is always involved in sports, always outside playing. Kind of one of those kids that when you always just came home when the street lights, came on, that's when you knew it was time to get home. Um, but really grew up in a basketball family, a sports family. So my dad always coached at Washington Catholic, um, different teams, whether it was boys teams, girls teams, whether he was head coach or just volunteering or just an assistant. So I would always follow him to the games and to the practices. So I always had to get the homework done first, and then I could go to the gyms. Got into that. So just being able to watch my dad, being able to coach and just be around the game and being around the kids and just being in the gym. So being in the bird cage at Washington Catholic, like it was great growing up all those years. And then as I went to Washington High School, transferred over there in eighth grade, is just being able to watch the coaches from Coach Bill O'Brien, my head basketball coach with Coach Steve Brothers, Coach Bill Thompson, just being around very good coaches that you just knew had good relationships with kids and just got the most out of kids. And I think just being able to just be around the game and also enjoy being around kids. So just being able to do both at the same time, just like what a better job than that. So just even at an early age, Coach Brothers kind of gave me my first gig when I was in college. When I came home, just kind of coaching a school AU team at the age of 19. So just start. I've been coaching since I was 19. So I had my own team since then, but also working like summer camps and doing things like that. So just really enjoyed it. Just enjoyed the game. Enjoyed learning from other coaches. Started at the younger grades and just worked my way up. So really appreciated that opportunity, but just kind of been around it my whole life. So just really don't know any different, I guess.
What's been the greatest joy in coaching for you?
I think definitely just seeing like that light bulb go off in kids. I think just that the accomplishment of seeing when kids maybe don't feel that they can reach a certain point and they reach it. And it may not always necessarily be during the basketball season, but maybe even just later in life. I think it's awesome even when they graduate and you get that call, they're getting that first real job, or you get to be that reference for them, or, invited to their wedding, or they're having that first child, or just the relationships you build with them on later on. But it's just that relationship you have with the kids and just watching them grow from, because you get to see them pretty much well from elementary all the way up. But it's just that relationship you have with kids and just watching them develop into young ladies into society and just successful as can be um, through their life.
That kind of transitioned perfectly into my next question. How close do you stay with some of the girls that go through the program?
Yes. Well, and I think for us too, like number one, like a non-negotiable for our coaches, even second grade on up, is building positive relationships with our kids. And by that we mean like don't know them as basketball kids. We want to know them as who they are. Because we really feel like it doesn't matter it doesn't matter anything, you can't get the most out of them until you know each individual kid. So like even during practices, we want to go and talk to every kid every practice. So not even as a group doesn't count. So find a way to get to every kid every day. And then it needs to be, nothing about basketball. So whether it's something about school, or like if we knew, their family went on a weekend trip, or if we knew they had a tough test, or just something that they knew, that we knew something going on in their life that was not basketball related. So just being able to have those relationships and make those connections is super important with us. And then so, and vice versa, that they know us as humans and not just as coaches, right? That we're people too.
Yeah.
So like our office door is always like and literally open, where they just come in, just hang out. We have snacks in there and stuff, and we just talk about things a lot of times. That has nothing to do with basketball, and that's what we really want. So those relationships we want to be able to build even beyond, because sometimes we'll get the calls even after they've graduated that something tough's going on, and we want to still be that person for them that they can talk to or rely on, or if they need something. So it's very important for us that that relationship piece is never basketball related. It's life related.
When you got in, you mentioned how early one they get into coaching. Has coaching so far exceeded your expectations when you wanted to get into it as a kid?
I think so. Yes, I think like every coach would probably tell you too, like definitely highs and definitely lows, right? Excuse me. But I think every day brings something different, and you get so competitive about things that there's definitely days that you're like, man, why do we do this? And there's definitely days you go, this is why we do this. Because as coaches, there's so many things behind the scenes that has to be done that nobody knows, right?
Yeah.
So um, really the least amount of time we get to spend with our kids is on game days and practice days, because there's just so much behind the scenes that you have to take care of. But that's the job, that's the grind of it. And I think when you step back and look at it, you're like, this is exactly why we do what we do. And I think as coaches, we always have to take that time to reflect and go, like, find your why. Like, this is why you do it. And I think there's are many times where you go, okay, when coaches are like, okay, this is it, they just know, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. And things get in and things happen, family happens, health happens, things just happen. Um, and so with that being said, like, I think when you step back and you go, this is why we do what we do, because we also expect kids to handle hard things. As us as coaches, we have to have the same expectations.
Right. Right now in this at this point of the season, what's your I guess biggest focus going into each game? Do you kind of do a lot of film for each individual opponent, or are you more focused on yourself right now?
Yeah, so we try to spend it like 90-10, so 90% on us and maybe 10% on the opponent. But we do always, like with our huddle film, put in different playlists for the kids so they can just pop it up real quick and see it on the opponents from our scout. And of course, we see every team live at least once, if not sometimes twice. And then obviously get film on them so we can break down film. So day before we play them, we always have like I would say maybe a 15-minute film session on them, just so they can see it visually. And then we go practice. And then at the end of practice, we go over the same stuff live so they can kind of see like different sets they run or out of bounds plays, just so we know how we want to defend it, and just kind of give them a different look of it. So
Has
we spend, oh, go
oh,
ahead. Sorry.
oh, no, 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 you good. I sorry, I interrupted you.
That's okay. And then so really we just spend some time at the end of practice, and we don't want to really like overdo it so the kids are like, oh my gosh, just overwhelmed by it. But just to give them an idea, because we want our kids to be prepared. And that's our job as coaches too, is to prepare our kids to do the best we can, to maybe if we can take something away or just give them an idea of what to look for into opponent, just to help them when it comes time to play them.
What's has Huddle been the greatest addition to you as a coach in your
Oh my
tenure?
gosh. Yes, because even when I started, like we were filming it on a DVD, and then you'd go home and make a copy of it on a DVD for a coach, and then you would drive and meet the coach somewhere, and then you'd hand it off. So yes, so like, in the fact that it would take a while to make a copy of it, and then of course you're buying extra DVDs because coaches needed it. But nowadays with Huddle, somebody just sends you an email request, you hit a button, and you send it to them. Like it's amazing. And the way that you can break down film with your kids, it's just it is. It makes things a lot easier. It makes things just right there, to click of a button, and just so good for not only kids but us as coaches of what we need to do to be better coaches for our kids.
Whoa. Can't breathe there for a second. Don't know what
Oh,
just happened. No,
you're
I'm good.
right.
Oh yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah, good. That was a spit bubble, I think. The right now I'm totally cutting that, like setting it out. So I'm just
Oh, yeah.
gonna mark that. Uh, the geez, that was never had that happen.
Oh my.
The Jesus, my train of thought just got
Oh
thrown into a
my.
river.
Oh yeah,
The
imagine.
Oh, here we go. The right now, talk about the film and all that. How much film do you usually do for the average sectional opponent? Come around that time.
So I feel like throughout the season you start to kind of gather some, just to kind of like file some away. And I think like early on people are still trying to like figure their own teams out. So I feel like maybe like after Christmas we really start to kind of hone in on that, um, and really start to kind of scout sectional teams even more because let's be honest, like that's the goal is what we're always trying to strive through for. So our coaches will kind of split up on which teams we'll take and kind of just like make a file of those and kind of go through those as far as like their offensive defensive sets and their strengths and weaknesses if they have any weaknesses, um and then look at film too, and again just try not to overwhelm kids, but like as coaches like we'll look through all of it first and say what do our kids need to know, because some of it a lot of it just as coaches we need to know, but like what is it that maybe the kids need to know to be able to take away.
There's each coach has their own goal each season. And what's your, I guess, baseline goal this season?
I think for us, as always, like you want to get better at the end of the season you were to start the season. I think you want to be playing your best basketball at the end of the season, and I think you really want to. I think as coaches too, we want our kids playing the best individually too. Like, did we get the most out of our kids? Um, for a challenge for that for our coaching staff is not only as a team, but are we really pushing our kids enough out of their comfort zone to be better that way too? And I think as far as like when you look at who your team is, I think goals are different. But I think for us too, is that goal is to win a sectional. Of course, you'd love to like it's great to win a conference and do all those kind of things. When it gets down to it, you want to win a sectional title. And you think with some years that was not our goal, right? Because just depend on what the ability of our team was. But we really feel like if we can just keep getting better and just stay healthy, there's so many teams in that sectional that are so good that we feel like we could be in the mix of that. And I feel like that's a big goal of ours, and probably the only goal of ours this season is to win a sectional.
That's really all I have prepared question wise. Is there anything
Okay.
you want to get out there, Coach?
No, I think that's great. Great questions. I appreciate that. That was very good.
Well,
Yeah, you
thank
did
you.
a great job.
I appreciate that. That was
Yeah.
uh well, I've been Hunter Way at the Athletes Lounge podcast, and thanks for doing this, Coach.
Yeah, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. You did a wonderful job. That was awesome.
Hey guys, this is Hunter Way at the Athletes Lounge podcast. Please like, share, and subscribe where you can. Thanks.